Due to a mistake of God, poor Kelvin dies in an accident, and to correct this mistake, the goddess of reincarnation gave Kelvin a chance. She gave Kelvin the powers to choose some skills for his new life. But in return, Kelvin will have to leave his old memories and will be sent to a fantasy world for a new life. So in the beginning of the story, we see that Kelvin wakes up under a tree. At first, he does not understand where he is, but then a menu that looks like a game appears in front of him. It is written on the menu that begin your adventure. Kelvin gets curious and clicks on the start button. As soon as he presses the button, the menu suddenly moves and she starts speaking. She tells him about his reincarnation and also explains how he can check his stats. Kelvin opens his stat screen and sees that he has a support. The type of player whose skills are chosen is S-rank summoning spells and level boosts that make him a powerful support adventurer. Then, as is the case with every anime story, menu suggests Kelvin to go to a nearby city and register with the Adventurers Guild to start his new life. Kelvin prepares for his new journey in a new fantasy world with a new identity. While walking in the forest, he reveals Menu that he himself is a god named Leo. He enters a city where Leo tells him about his lost memories. She says that after dying he had chosen many abilities. Because of this, Leo decided that she will accompany him in this adventure. He asks why he cannot see Leo. She replies that she has very less amount of points right now. That is why he cannot see her. After that, he enters a guild where a receptionist gives him a form to fill. When he is writing his abilities as literacy, Leo stops him and forbids him from doing so because literacy class is very rare and it is possible that he is the only literate in this whole kingdom. And if this thing is revealed, then he may have to face a lot of problems. That is why he registers himself as a Maga. After a while he gets his guild card, which shows that he is currently an F-rank adventurer there. And the receptionist tells him that he has to complete 10 quests if he wants to increase his rank. Then the receptionist shows him some quests and he decides to chase the slimes in the forest. Before they can try their summoning spell, he buys an old wooden road with his remaining money and sets out to the forest to earn money. After walking a little distance, he spots some slimes and immediately hides behind a bush. He checks the stats of those slimes and finds out that they are very weak. So he decides that he will not use magic and he will defeat them only with his physical attack. He jumps and attacks the slimes with his staff, but the slimes dodge his attack. Then a slime attacks his chest, due to which he falls back. He gets up and runs to attack again, but the slime dodges again, and also counterattacks him 3 times continuously, due to which he falls on the ground once again. Kelvin gets up once again and swings his staff hard to do a powerful attack, but the slime dodges again. But this time Kelvin immediately does another attack, due to which the slime falls on the ground and his HP was almost over. Kelvin goes near that slime and extends his hand, and then a magic gets activated which forms a contract between them. He then summons a slime and names it Chloe. He says that he will now hunt down more slimes. In the evening, he finds a group of slimes and sneaks up to them. Kelvin tells Chloe to take care of the slime on the right while he will deal with the other one. The two quickly come out of the bushes, and Kelvin immediately defeats the slime using his wind magic, while Chloe eliminates her opponent using some crazy boxing moves. Kelvin is confused because Chloe seemed very powerful. He checks the menu and finds out that even at level 1, his stats are great. Leo explains that this is because Kelvin is the only SS rank summoner in the world, and that is why his monsters are so powerful. While they are talking, Chloe finds another slime and knocks it down on the ground. But Kelvin immediately calls him back in. After reaching the city, they sell the slime cores and earn some money. Now he has enough money to buy food and a comfortable place to spend the night. While passing through an alley, Kelvin sees some slaves locked in a cage. There were some beautiful girls with slave collars on them. One of them was caught a few days ago, and she is a very rare half-elf. Kelvin decides to ignore this and go straight to a hotel and get a room for the night. At night, he comes down to have dinner and his new life in this world begins. He goes on more adventures. Wolfseller is ready to become a adventurer. Now a few days have passed here and Kelvin has completed his 10 quests. He goes to the guild and his rank is upgraded to E-rank adventurer. Even though people are jealous, Kelvin demands a high-rank job, but before the receptionist can answer him, he asks for a job. A blonde-haired boy named Robert tells him that he must defeat the Black Knight. He tells Kelvin that he is a D-rank adventurer and invites Kelvin to join his party. Kelvin checks his stats and realizes that he is lying about his rank, so he declines his offer and instead has a competition to see who can defeat the Black Knight first. Robert is surprised by this. but he accepts the challenge and walks out of the guild. Calvin thinks that Robert might set a trap, but decides to go anyway to test his strength. Robert meets his teammates in an alley, which includes a blue-haired boy and a big, fat man. The fat man tells Robert that he just needs to kill someone to vent his anger. With an evil smile, Robert tells him not to worry because he has already found such a person. When they reach the Black Knight's castle, Robert and his team run inside, but as soon as they open the door, they find out that all the monsters inside are already dead, and suddenly Calvin comes out from inside and tells them that they were a little late in coming. Calvin says that the Black Knight is behind the door, but to reach there, they will have to fight Calvin first. Robert was surprised to see this, but before he could understand anything, Calvin starts provoking the fat man. He tells him that he is a fat ugly man who has never seen a girl. Hearing this, the fat man gets very angry and runs towards Calvin, but Calvin uses his magic to turn the ground into a swamp, due to which the fat man got trapped inside it. After that, Calvin uses his wind magic, but it blocks them while the rest of the people somehow dodge it. Seeing this, the boy gets scared and starts running away from there, but Calvin immediately summons Chloe, who had become a huge monster. Chloe goes and chases the boy and catches him and brings him back to the hall. A few days ago, when Calvin was doing adventure, Chloe was behaving strangely, and gradually, he got involved and turned into a huge slime monster. Leo tells that Chloe is now one of the most powerful summons in this world, which has the power to destroy an entire country. Back in the present, Chloe slams the boy against a wall and knocks him unconscious. Seeing this, the fat man uses all his strength to get out of the swamp, but Chloe immediately catches him. Meanwhile, Robert runs to attack Calvin, but Calvin beats him badly and ties them all with a rope with the help of Chloe. Calvin then opens the door behind him and reveals a cool-looking knight with a huge sword. Calvin decides to capture the knight rather than defeat him, but the knight refuses to fight and the two sit down and talk. The knight tells the story of how he worked with different kingdoms and gives Calvin an old piece of candy. Calvin gets straight to the point and asks him if he would agree to make a contract with him. The knight says that he has nothing else to do, so he agrees to do so, but on one condition. If Calvin defeats him in combat, the battle begins at night. Calvin runs towards the knight and uses his wind magic, but it has no effect on him. Chloe tries to attack the knight from behind, but the knight easily catches him and blocks his attack. Calvin immediately runs towards the knight and creates a destruction using his earth magic, so that Chloe can't escape. The knight uses an aerial slice, which Calvin barely dodges. Calvin then attacks him with his earth splitter, but it has no effect on the knight. The knight does another slash, which Calvin dodges again, while Chloe gets into a massive clash with the knight, which completely destroys the knight. This destruction allows Calvin to set a trap. He uses a special magic, which increases gravity around the knight, causing the knight to fall to the ground. Calvin thinks he has won the battle, but the knight breaks the magic effect and immediately comes at Calvin with powerful slashes. Calvin somehow dodges the slashes. Using his earth magic, the knight can no longer keep his distance and tries to finish off Calvin, but Calvin uses his gravity spell again, which slows down Knight's speed, and in the meantime Chloe appears in front of Knight and uses his solar beam attack to blow him away. The next morning, Calvin goes inside the guild and brings the broken part of the Black Knight, which impresses everyone. He also catches Cash and his gang red-handed, due to which they are now sent to jail for their crime. After that, Calvin runs towards his room and finds out that he has successfully made a contract with the Dark Knight. After all this, he wanted to go to his room and take some rest, but then he sees an old man who is waiting for him. The old man tells his name as Thomas and introduces himself as the guild master, and without wasting time, directly asks Calvin if he has come from another world. Calvin was shocked to hear this and immediately checks his status. He finds out that Thomas' rank is very high, and maybe he can see who Calvin really is. Both of them sit and have tea, and Thomas tells Calvin that the receptionist told him that Calvin not only caught Cass and his gang red-handed, but also caught him red-handed. Thomas then tells him that he knows that Calvin is a summoner. Calvin is again shocked and wonders if he could lie about his identity. Leo and the Knight both tell him that he can't hide his identity forever. Hearing this, Calvin feels a little confident and calmly reveals that yes, he is a summoner because there is no point in hiding it now. Calvin then turns to Thomas and asks him if he knew beforehand that Robert and his gang are criminals, so why didn't he stop them? Thomas calmly replies that he belongs to a noble family from a neighboring kingdom, and that's why his case was beyond his jurisdiction. Without good evidence, he couldn't do anything. Thomas then tells Calvin not to worry, as he is not here to become Calvin's enemy but to become his friend. Thomas also reveals that he has met people from other worlds before, and some of them are heroes from a neighboring kingdom. Leo suddenly remembers that he too had promised to be reborn and promises Calvin that he will give the details later. Thomas says that recently a prophecy came in which it was said that the Demon King is going to return soon, and due to this all the monsters around are becoming more angry and powerful. He asks Calvin to protect the city to stop the small monsters while the heroes are dealing with the Demon King. Calvin asks what he will get in return for this. Thomas replies that he will increase his adventurer rank himself, and he will have the freedom to take any job, and apart from this, he will provide as much support as he can and will never tell his secret to anyone else, and he will have complete freedom. Calvin accepts his agreement, and immediately his rank is increased to be Great Adventurer. Calvin comes back to the hotel and starts having lunch. During lunch, he asks Leo about the heroes who were reconquered before him. Leo tells him that some time ago, Truckun once again blew up for boys and girls of Japan. Those four people are known as heroes in this world. In Reincarnate, whose goal was to defeat the Demon King. After finishing lunch, Calvin takes out the money from his pocket, which he has saved so far, and starts walking out. Leo gets curious and asks him what he is going to do with so much money. Then Calvin says that he is going to buy a slave. Calvin passes by the same road where he had seen some slaves earlier. A strange scene unfolds in front of him. A man completely engulfed in fire runs past the cage. The people there immediately extinguish the fire of that man, but the man shouts angrily and leaves from there. Then the merchant explains to them that a curse has been put on one of their slaves, which burns anyone who touches her. As soon as Calvin looks inside the cage, he is shocked. The girl inside that cage is none other than an elf. Calvin checks the girl's status and decides that he will buy her. The merchant gets shocked and reminds Calvin again that a curse has been put on that girl which burns anyone who touches her, but Calvin, without any hesitation, gives the money and takes the girl with him. The girl is very scared and her hands and legs are tied. After a while, Calvin turns and tries to talk to her and touches her head a little, but the girl steps back and says that I have a curse on me and I don't want to hurt anyone. Calvin calmly tells her not to worry, everything will be fine. Then, he uses his SS rank magic and makes the curse disappear. The girl is surprised to see that the curse is no longer there, and tears start flowing from her eyes. And she thanks Calvin. She tells him her name is FL and says that she was sold into slavery right after her birth. Calvin consoles her and says that she need not worry now, as he will keep her safe. Then he takes FL back to the hotel and asks the fat Annie to cook some food for them. Lady initially doubts FL, but when Calvin tells her that she is a slave that he has bought, Lady takes FL with her to the bathroom to clean her properly. Meanwhile, Calvin is sitting at the table waiting for dinner. After a while, Lady returns and FL is also with her, who is now dressed as a maid. After dinner, they go back to their room, where Calvin explains everything to FL and also shows her other summon things. He checks FL's status and upgrades her level. Now when it is night, they decide everything, that now they should take some rest because the next morning they have to go on an adventure. A few months pass like this, and now the coordination of their team had become very strong. FL had maxed her archery skill, and with her flame magic, she could attack the enemy with a single strike. These things were very helpful for their team, since Calvin and his other teammates use melee weapons, and FL is the only one who can attack from a distance. After defeating a monster, they all return to the guild, where the receptionist congratulates them. She tells them that after just one more quest, Calvin will become an E-rank adventurer, and FL can get her B-rank card. She tells them to get ready for the exam, and also consoles FL that there is nothing to worry about. She reminds that the last time FL gave the exam for her C-rank card, she easily defeated the instructor by using her invisibility power. Meanwhile, the receptionist, whose name is Nora, invites Calvin and FL to a new sweet shop, which had just opened in the market. Both of them agree to this, and go to the shop the next morning. There both of them test the new sweets and enjoy a lot. But suddenly, a noble's sweets comes. Group arrive there and he kicks their table. Calvin angrily asks them what their problem is. Then one of the grouchy nobles shouts that the third prince of the neighboring country is standing in front of Calvin. That fat and grouchy prince starts telling Calvin his things and says that if Calvin wants forgiveness, then he should hand over FL and Nora to him for a day or two. Seeing this, Calvin loses his temper. He moves forward and using his magic, he hits one of their men hard against the wall. Seeing this, the fat prince and the rest of the people get scared. Calvin then pushes the other people inside the wall as well, which makes the ugly prince's breath tight. Calvin goes to the prince and using his gravity magic, he ties him to the ground. He angrily asks the prince what he is doing in this country. The prince refuses to answer, due to which Kelvin presses him even more to the ground. Out of fear, the fat and ugly prince finally tells the truth. He says that he has come here to meet Guildmaster Thomas because he has heard that a new adventurer has made the guild his base, and he is very powerful too. The prince tells that he intends to make that adventurer his servant so that he can earn some name and prove himself worthy of becoming the next king. Hearing this, Kelvin laughs and says that I am that adventurer and I will never work for an ugly and fat person like you. After this, Kelvin and his team return to the guild the next morning. She gives them some new news. She gives Kelvin an update on the heroes and says that she has the hero's status. From what he can check, Kelvin understands that the level of the heroes is still very low, even though they were reincarnated 1 year ago. Leo says that this can be a big problem, because the Demon Lord can revive soon, and the heroes are not ready to fight him. In comparison, Kelvin and his team have been in this world for only 1 month, but their level is very high and they also have dangerous weapons. When they are checking their weapons, the hotel lady knocks on the door and tells Kelvin that Guildmaster Thomas wants to meet him. Kelvin goes to the guild, where Thomas gives him information that a secret room has been discovered inside a cave, and it is said that in the secret room, there is a very powerful demon who can be up to S rank. Hearing this, Kelvin gets a shock because he has never faced such a powerful opponent, but there was no one else in that whole guild who could accept this challenge, so Kelvin takes on this quest. Later, Kelvin and his team reach the location, where they find Erd, who is the same instructor who had taken Eiffel's exam earlier. Erd introduces himself to them and asks if they have come here to complete the quest. When Kelvin asks him about the situation here, Erd tells him that they know how powerful the demon can be. That is why they have built a protective barrier around the cave, so that no one gets injured by mistake. Erd takes them to a small room which had a secret door. From there, Kelvin and his team descend. They go inside the cave, which looked quite scary, but the surprising thing was that Kelvin did not feel the presence of any enemy there. They keep walking and reach a big gate. Then Kelvin asks them to stop because now he feels the presence of not just one but two demons who were behind the gate. Everyone gets ready and opens that big door. In front of it, there is a big room which was filled with skeletons only, and there was no light at all. They move forward slowly, and then their eyes fall on a demon girl who was imprisoned on a stone. Seeing this, Kelvin gets surprised, but before he can think anything, he hears a voice from behind, and he immediately turns around to look, and in front of them is a demon of a devilish form, and his name is Archdemon Victor. Kelvin's body trembles because he understands that this demon is of S rank. Still, he keeps himself calm and asks him who is that girl. Victor closes the door with a scary smile and fills the whole room with light. Then he says that the imprisoned girl is the daughter of the previous Demon Lord. Everyone is shocked to hear this, because Leo did not know that the previous Demon Lord also had a daughter. Victor also tells that he has killed every monster of this area, so that any person can easily reach this room. But without saying anything else, he suddenly attacks Kelvin, but thankfully Gerard blocks that attack with his shield. But Gerard becomes weak in front of Victor's tremendous power. Kelvin immediately uses his gravity spell and tries to stop Victor there. After that, he asks what Victor wants from him. Victor reveals that he wants to kill him. A seal has been put in place that only humans can break. He says that once the seal is removed, he will devour the Demon King's daughter and become the most powerful demon in the world. The next Demon Lord, saying this, he frees himself from Kelvin's gravity spell and prepares to kill Kelvin and his team. But Kelvin goes out of excitement instead of being afraid, because he had never faced such a strong enemy. Victor is shocked because Kelvin was happy instead of being scared. Then he uses a black magic and brings alive many monsters from inside the skulls, who attack all those heroes. Kelvin immediately starts dealing with the monsters using his wind magic, while Gerard blows the monsters here and there with his sword. But he warns Kelvin that if he does not end this fight, then the number of monsters can become a big problem. Then Gerard uses his special aerial slash and kills many monsters. But the monsters were not ending. They continuously attacked the heroes. While Kelvin and his team were killing them one by one, Victor was surprised to see the strength of the heroes. Kelvin moves towards him and with a smile asks him if he still wants to fight. Hearing this, Victor just starts laughing and punches the ground hard with his hand. Is due to which a cloud of smoke is formed around there which blurs everything. Kelvin tells Gerard to stay calm and explains that the demon is now underground. As soon as the demon tries to attack, Gerard stops his attack with his shield, which surprises Victor a lot. Gerard immediately attacks again, but Victor somehow escapes from it and tries to attack Calvin. Victor again comes in front of the Black Knight and an intense fight begins between the two, but in the end, Victor overpowers Gerard and pushes him away. Calvin gets a little confused here, but then the demon attacks him with one of his hands. Calvin somehow dodges that attack to save himself, but as soon as Calvin tries to make his balance, Victor suddenly comes behind him and attacks, but then Chloe comes there and stops Victor's attack and saves Calvin's life. Seeing this, Victor stops Chloe. Chloe tries to kill him by attacking him, but Chloe easily dodges his attack. Taking advantage of this destruction, Calvin uses a binding magic on the demon, which manages to bind one of his hands. Gerard immediately runs towards Victor and prepares to attack, but Calvin stops him. Meanwhile, Victor uses his power to break the magic wand. Calvin immediately applies a magic buff on Gerard's sword and asks him to attack, but Victor starts laughing because his hands are already behind Calvin and he is about to attack. Then Calvin asks Eiffel to reveal his true power. Victor is completely surprised when Eiffel stands behind him with a magic arrow and shoots it. Victor somehow blocks this attack with his hand, but he gets badly injured due to this, and taking advantage of this destruction, Gerard cuts one of Victor's hands with his sword, but Calvin asks everyone to retreat. Then the demon starts laughing loudly and says that he is about to take his final form now, and slowly Victor's body starts transforming into a huge demon. Calvin immediately tries to kill Victor before he transforms, and he uses his earth magic. Eiffel and Gerard also try to support him with their attacks, but by then it was too late. Victor transforms into his final form. His new armor makes his attacks ineffective. Victor immediately runs towards Calvin and his team. Calvin creates a magic wall, but Victor easily breaks it. Gerard senses Victor's attack at the last moment and tries to push him back with all his strength, but it is not enough, and Victor overpowers him and knocks him to the ground. Victor was ready to launch his final attack on him, but Eiffel distracts him with her arrows. Victor is distracted by Eiffel's attack, which gives Gerard a chance to attack again. He launches a slash attack with his sword, but Victor easily dodges these attacks due to his speed and defense. Then Eiffel again starts shooting arrows at Victor, and when Victor is busy dodging them, Chloe suddenly appears in front of him and attacks him with her curse shot, which Victor deflects. The demon falls down. Calvin takes advantage of this opportunity and uses his most powerful spell, which was a combination of blaze arrows and enclosed solar beam. This powerful magic hits the demon's chest and slams him hard into the wall. The ground starts shaking due to this attack, and a part of the ceiling also starts falling. Calvin is shocked to see all this when Victor tries to stop a huge boulder, which was about to fall on the Demon King's daughter by worshipping his body. Victor falls on the ground after stopping the boulder, and he was completely exhausted. Calvin goes to him and angrily asks him, "Why did you try to save that girl?" Then Victor tells the truth. He says that he was the most loyal soldier of the previous Demon Lord and was given the task of keeping the secret of the Demon Lord's daughter's existence. His job was to protect that girl, because if her existence was known to the heroes or any other enemy, her life could be in danger. Victor taught that girl to fight, read and write, and taught her every necessary thing of life here in the castle, which has now become a ruin. But sadly, the day of judgment came, and humans along with the heroes came to attack the demon. The number of demons was very less in front of humans, and there was no way to escape. At such a time, the Demon Lord gave Victor his last responsibility to save his daughter's life. The Demon Lord of the Demon Lord put a seal on her, which only a person with a pure and soft heart could break. While taking his last breath, Victor requests Calvin to take the girl to his party and show her the world, because his whole life has been spent seeing only death and destruction. With these last words, Victor dies. Calvin goes to the altar and breaks the seal. This brings the girl back to her senses. As soon as she regains consciousness, she understands what is happening and immediately starts crying. Calvin tries his best to console her and cheer her up. After a while, they all come out of the dungeon and see her waiting for them. He asks what happened inside. Calvin lies that the girl on his back was possessed by a demon, but they killed the demon and rescued the girl safely. Calvin gives Erd a piece of Victor's armor and says that this proves that Erd is the demon. Proof